On the outside corner for strike 3. Great job by Craig Stammen.
3 pitches into Sunday's game, Craig Stammen was already walking back to the clubhouse. The Padres had just lost their manager before a single out, and their losing streak had hit 8 games. They still beat the Dodgers 5-2. Stammen's a first-year manager who spent 13 years as a middle reliever and front office assistant before ever running a dugout. The real story is what happens inside an organization when the leader who built the systems is no longer in the room. 3 pitches, and this is July 5th, 2026 at Dodger Stadium. The Padres are stuck in their worst losing streak since 2013, and it's ugly because they've dropped 8 straight losses, 5 of them to the Dodgers in just the last 2 weeks. The dugout is frustrated, the fans are restless, and the media has already started writing obituaries for the season. So when Fernando Tatis Jr. steps up for the first at-bat and doesn't get the check swing call on an 0-1 pitch, the dugout erupts. Ryan Goins barks from the bench and gets tossed immediately, so Stammen walks out to defend him. 3 pitches into the game, both the manager and the infield coach are gone, and there are no outs, no hits, and no manager left in the dugout. Stammen later said the umpires told them to calm down and not say another word, but Goins said another word, so Stammen walked out to argue. He told the umpire not to toss him, but the umpire still did, and it was Stammen's 3rd ejection as a manager, plus his first in a 13-year playing career. Now here's where most teams fall apart. You're on an 8-game skid, facing the best team in baseball, a club that had already won 59 games, and you just lost your manager, so the natural response is mailing it in. The Padres didn't mail it in. J.P. Sears, a left-hander who entered the day with a near 7 ERA, pitched 5 scoreless innings and didn't allow his first hit until the 5th, while Jackson Merrill added an RBI single in the 4th. In the 7th, Manny Machado broke the game open with a 3-run homer, his 28th career homer against the Dodgers. Mason Miller closed it out in the 9th with a 5-2 final, and just like that, the 8-game skid was over. So forget whether the Padres got lucky. The real question is how a team operates when its leader is escorted out of the building in the first inning and still executes a game plan against a 90-win team, from the bullpen to the boardroom. To understand why this works, you have to understand who Craig Stammen actually is. His resume looks like a misprint that nobody would believe if they saw it on paper. Stammen pitched in 562 major league games across 13 seasons, but he was never a star. He was the middle reliever, the guy who comes in when the starter is tired and the game is still close. He posted a 3.66 ERA and a 55-44 record, mostly with the Nationals and Padres, and he put up a 3.36 ERA over his final 6 seasons with San Diego. He retired in 2023 and immediately moved to the other side of the fence. In January 2024, the Padres handed him a hybrid role that put him in both the dugout and the front office, working with player development and analytics, translating between the people who wear uniforms and the people who wear suits. In November 2025, the Padres named him manager on a 3-year contract through 2028, replacing Mike Shildt after back-to-back 90-win seasons and 2 playoff appearances. Stammen had never managed or formally coached at any level before, whether in the minors, in college, or overseas. Some called it a gamble, others a mistake, but Preller called it intentional. Preller, the Padres general manager, hired him anyway because Preller didn't care about wins and losses on a minor league resume, and he cared about continuity, clubhouse trust, and cross-functional experience instead. Stammen had already sat in every chair in the building. He knew the players from experience, the front office from working there, and the analytics from building them. That is a textbook T-shaped executive with deep expertise in one lane and lateral exposure across every other lane that matters. But one ejection doesn't prove a system. So let's look at the other moments where Stammen's middle management structure got tested, the other signals. On June 13th, the Padres faced the Orioles in a game that turned heated, and Ron Marinaccio, one of Stammen's relievers, got ejected in an HBP and retaliation situation. Stammen got tossed defending the situation and his player, but the Padres still won. That incident showed something different from the July 5th explosion. Stammen is willing to absorb the ejection himself to protect his players from getting suspended or fined, and he takes the organizational hit so the talent doesn't have to, which is a classic middle management move. He shields the front office's assets from damage while keeping morale intact. Then there's the bullpen learning curve from early in the 2026 season. At the start of the year, Stammen initially overtrusted certain relievers and was slow to adapt in some high-leverage spots. And most first-year managers double down and blame the players in that situation. Stammen publicly acknowledged it and adjusted. That's not common in professional sports, where admitting a tactical mistake is often seen as weakness. In business, we call that rapid iteration, though in baseball, it's practically unheard of. He wasn't the captain. He wasn't the highest paid guy, but he was the clubhouse glue who kept Tatis, Machado, and the stars aligned with the front office all season. If you go back to 2022, he was central to the player-led meetings that pushed the Padres into the playoffs. Now look at his current staff. Ruben Niebla, the former pitching coach, now reports to Stammen, which means his former boss is now his subordinate, and that only works if the relationship was built on trust long before the org chart changed. Stammen earned that trust during 2 years as a front office hybrid, building relationships on both sides of the fence. These incidents aren't random flare-ups. They're signals of a leadership structure where the manager isn't the only person making decisions, and the bench staff, pitching coaches, analytics team, and veterans already know what to do when the manager isn't in the dugout. That's not luck or accident. It's design that shows up in numbers, not just stories. The scorecard. So let's run the scorecard. That's what Revenue Racers is about, and we'll begin with the numbers from that game to see how they match the story we just walked through. Stammen was gone before a single out, so the bench staff had to handle every pitching change, every defensive shift, and every matchup decision without him. J.P. Sears held the Dodgers scoreless for 5 innings, Jack Dreyer escaped a bases-loaded jam in the 5th, and Adrian Morejon and Mason Miller finished it out. Every move worked. You can't write that off as coincidence. It happens when the coaching staff already knows the decision framework because the manager built it with them in the weeks before the season, and the front office gives him the analytics. He translates them into a game plan, and the bench staff executes. When he's ejected, the loop doesn't break because everyone already knows their role. Look at the broader numbers. Under Stammen, the Padres have had to manage high-leverage bullpen situations without overworking their arms. And early in the season, the usage patterns were uneven, but by June and July, the adaptation is visible. The pitchers who struggled early are getting rest, and the ones who are hot are getting the right matchups. When Stammen was ejected on July 5th, the Padres were in an 8-game skid facing a 90-win club, and that culture metric doesn't show up in a box score, but it appears in the standings as a difference between panic and execution. A team with weak culture folds, but a team with strong culture responds. The Padres won 5-2. This is what researchers call a team of leaders. It means leadership is distributed across the coaching staff, players, and analytics team. So when the head coach is removed, others step into tactical and motivational roles without the team collapsing. The Padres aren't surviving Stammen's ejections. They're thriving because of a system that doesn't need him in the room. That's what a secret CEO does. They build the machine so it runs when they step away. The T-shaped executive lesson, but the real lesson's bigger than one manager in San Diego, because the most valuable leaders in sports organizations are the ones who have lived in multiple silos. They've been a player, worked in player development, sat in the front office, and handled operations. That lets them translate strategy into real-time culture because they've sat in every chair. Stammen's job isn't limited to lineup cards and bullpen calls. He's the relationship broker between the front office and the clubhouse. He turns Preller's vision into player buy-in because he speaks both player language and front office language. That's why he represents the highest leverage kind of leader you can hire. While most traditional managers come up through one track and Stammen came up through 4. The actionable part for anyone watching this who wants to work in sports business is simple. Specializing isn't enough. Go deep in one area, whether scouting, analytics, coaching, sales, or media, and learn how the money works, how the players think, and how the media narrative gets built. but deliberately build relationships and exposure across the other departments. The people who can move between those worlds are the secret CEOs. They keep the organization running when the figurehead gets escorted out. That's exactly what every sports business should look for. The Padres beat the Dodgers without their manager because Stammen built an organization that kept running even when he wasn't in the dugout, which is exactly what a secret CEO is supposed to do. If you want more breakdowns on the business systems behind winning teams, subscribe to Revenue Racers. Tell me who the next secret CEO is in your favorite sport.